Well, good morning.
Good morning, Tom.
How are you?
Doing great.
That's good. You know, one of the things I've always liked about you is you're always doing great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I need you to tell me your name, and if you don't mind, actually spell your name for us, please.
Be glad to. Bobby or Bob, Hanson, Hanson.
Thank you so much. And then, just for the record, how do you identify with regard to the pronouns?
Okay, I'm a man, 73-year-old man.
Got it. Thank you so much. And then, would you mind talking a bit about where you were born and about sort of your life, if you will, and about what has moved you to become the person you are today?
Okay, my life. I was born in Savannah 73 years ago. Been here pretty much ever since. Stayed right here, went to school here, 8 years at Blessed Sacrament. Went to BC for 1 year. Contrary to some rumor, I was not kicked out, but I was asked to not return. So went to Jenkins, the 10th through 12th grade. Went to Armstrong for half a day, college. When orientation, when they said go to lunch, I went and never went back because I was in a band at that time, thought I was going to be the next Mick Jagger or somebody, and I didn't need college, which turned out to be a big mistake later on. Was in the National Guard here for 6 years, played in bands here for many years, been in churches here, worked here. So I've just been here my whole life. And have been married for many, many years to a beautiful lady named Ruth, and we have a very happy marriage, and we have 5 married children who, as far as I know, are very happily married. We have 18 grandchildren, ranging in age from 1 to 33. Does that kind of sum it up?
Thank you, yes. When I think of you, one of the things I do think about is the Kmart parking lot. Do you mind telling that story?
Not a bit. I was selling shrimp in the Kmart parking lot out of the back of a truck, and I had seen you there on occasion. And yeah, that was just a part of our life. Not having an education, and when I quit playing music professionally, I was somewhere around 33 years old or so, and anybody watching this can maybe identify with some of this. If you get to that age and you don't have an education, you don't have any manual skills, Ruth puts in the light bulbs in our house, and that's the truth. I'm just horribly challenged. So I'm going, okay, I'm 33 years old, no education, no skills, what do I do now? And so somehow ended up selling shrimp in the Kmart parking lot.
Do I remember a Bible in that?
Yes, that was a time when I really was able to increase my biblical knowledge because I sat there for 8, 9 hours a day or whatever, and so I was able to study my Bible quite a bit while I was selling shrimp. Mm-hmm.
When you were in the selling shrimp and studying your Bible, were you affiliated with the congregation at the time, or did that come later?
Yes, I was with the church then, yes.
Do you mind sort of talking about, if you don't mind, your
No.
your church journey?
Okay, my church journey, we were at Mount Olive Christian Church, which is on Montgomery Crossroads, for 16 years. We were at Islands Christian Church on Wilmington Island for 12 years, and we have been at Compassion Christian Church, where we serve now for 13 years.
And when you say serve, would you talk a bit about what that means to you in your life today?
In our church service, that would be mainly what Ruth and I think of ourselves as now. Our main job, so to speak, although it's not a job, is a service, is hospital visitation. Hospital, nursing home, hospice, shut-in visit type thing, to visit people and pray with them, and that is pretty much our main job. We do other things as well. We are prayer team members. In other words, at the end of a service, if somebody's heard something in the sermon and they want to know what does it mean to become a Christian, or they just want somebody to pray for them, Ruth and I and a handful of other folks are up front at the end of the service to meet them and do that. So that's kind of also our daughter started a organization called PAC, People of Action, Caring for Kids, and we have been very involved with that for 11 years. So that's a big one there. We're also involved with a homeless feeding, which we've been doing for 15 years. But that is not like under a church umbrella. There's many different churches and organizations represented there.
We are particularly interested in this idea of interfaith action in Savannah. So since you brought it up, would you mind elaborating on that a little bit about who's involved in the work around homelessness and how people get connected and that sort of thing?
Yes, I'd be glad to. And that's a real loose thing there. So there's a lot of different churches. And we started, do you want to know how we got into that?
Please.
Okay. We have been, Ruth and I have been life group leaders, which is a home Bible study prayer group for 21 years. And 15 years ago, just one night I said, hey, we need to be doing some more service in the community. If anybody's got any ideas would like to share with us. So a lady named Pat Ewell raised her hand. And I said, yeah, Pat. She said, well, Chris, that's her husband, we're involved in a homeless feeding ministry. And I went, oh, okay. All right. Anybody else? Anything? And so we're riding home, and I said, wow, homeless feeding? I don't know. That makes me kind of nervous. And so we went, and that was 15 years ago. And we stayed. We only go once a month, and we started, about 7.5 years we did twice a month, and then our hospital visits increased exponentially, so we went to once a month.
Is there a particular place that you go once a month?
Do you know where the Emmaus House is? Downtown? And I can't explain exactly where.
Okay.
It's
What's
almost to Bay Street.
maybe on the corner of
Abercorn,
yeah,
yes,
and Bryant.
right in there, yes. And there's a first Saturday of the month, second Saturday of the month, and then if there's 5 Saturdays, there's people out there doing that there. In fact, our daughter Naomi and her husband Chris, they have been involved, and whenever there's a feeding, they're there. We're just there the first Saturday of the month, and there are all kind of different organizations involved with this, which is great. So we've met a lot of wonderful people, different churches, and the PAC ministry is the same thing. There's a lot of different churches.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I mean, that's your daughter.
Sure,
right?
yes.
And we'll probably see her, quite frankly, sometime.
I hope so,
September,
yes, yes.
But if you kind of at a 40,000 foot level, what
Okay.
are they doing, how are they trying to do it, et cetera, and where is it and all that?
Okay, PAC, the building, they started 11 years ago, and my daughter and her husband and their 3 boys started making sandwiches, like 50 peanut butter sandwiches to give out. Do you want to know how this started? Because this is a great story. They were at a red light, and there were some guys at a bus stop, excuse me, and one of the boys said, "What are those guys doing?" And my daughter said, "Well, they're waiting on a bus." And one of the boys said, "Why don't they just get a car?" So my son-in-law is a doctor. In other words, they don't know what it's like to, why don't you just get a car? So my daughter said, something in our family has to change. And so they started making sandwiches, and that went from their kitchen to the gym at our church. That went from the gym at church to a trailer on the church property. And it's growing. It's growing. Mm-hmm. And now they're in and I could be wrong on this, excuse me, I'm getting hoarse here, a 9,500 square foot warehouse, and you've been there, and it's on Waters Avenue right behind the KFC. Mm-hmm. And so they are there now, and they are sending out about 4,600 bags of food every week and servicing 39 schools and community centers.
Do you have roughly?
Hang on a second. Would you like some water?
Thank you, Mickey.
Yeah.
I'd love some.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I got
it.
Papa.
We just learned something, didn't we?
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a feel for how many volunteers are in that building every week?
Melina told me there are, and this is a guess, Tom,
Sure.
16 to 18,000 a year volunteer there. There are, like today, when we leave here, we'll go to pack today. Thursday is the big day, the big packing day. And there might be 150 people there.
Could I just say something? Could I get you to say at PAC there are that many people, like a statement of fact about that, you know? You said it, but from a...
I'm kind of guessing.
Well,
is
that's
the deal.
close, whatever, but
Okay.
Just mention the name and then mention the number, say the number.
You want a declarative statement, like
yeah,
at PAC,
yeah,
there are.
yeah,
that
yeah.
are-
Okay, I can do that. Okay. You want me to start there, Mickey?
Yes, please.
Okay. At PAC, there are roughly somewhere between 16 and 18,000 volunteers a year. And so today is the big packing day. Thursday is when the majority of the food gets packed, and there will be minimum 150 people there or so today.
Would you have any idea, again, just broad, what percentage of those people have come through their church involvements?
Quite a few. And once again, there are many churches involved here. This is not just Compassion Christian Church. This is many denominations represented here. And not everybody goes to church. I remember a few years ago, someone asked a guy there, said, well, what church do you go to? He said, I don't go to any church. I don't want to go to church. Okay, great to have you. You know, you're packing bags for children. We are really happy you're here. So there are all kind of different churches, people, organizations, businesses have come in there. Amazon has done some great things there lately. You get people from different businesses. We know people, their boss will give them an hour off every week to come over and pack bags or whatever. So there's all kind of things represented there. And some people, you might see them once or twice, and that might be it. That's why that number's so high. And then there are people who are there every week. And there are people who are there multiple times a week. And everybody's a volunteer. My daughter is not paid. Nobody's paid. So every dime that goes to PAC goes to helping these children. And there are roughly 2,000 children, I think, on a waiting list. Because she also has a foster child. I don't know if you saw the boutique when you were in there, because she clothes foster children. There's something close to 90 children can come in there every 3 months up to the age of 18, and they get brand new clothes. Children who don't even have any idea what size they wear because they've never been shopping. And so they can come get brand new clothes and things in there.
When you first talked about PAC, you said it's in a warehouse. And when I hear the word warehouse, I have a certain image in my mind. When you walk into PAC, tell me what you see.
When you walk into PAC, and I worked in warehouses. I drove a forklift in warehouses. So that's a great point. I appreciate that. You walk in, and I remember one of our pastors from one of our churches came in. He said, this is just such a happy place. I was standing there when he said it. I've seen people come in and break down crying. I've seen that. Because you just walk in and you see people doing things for children who are really in need, and it is a happy place. You know you're doing something good when you're in there, because you've got people packing bags, you got people doing clothes. At Christmas season, they start wrapping Christmas presents around June or July or something like that. And hundreds upon hundreds of Christmas presents go out to really needy people. So there's people, and some folks say, well, my back is bad, I can't stand up to pack food. There'll be something. My daughter will find you something to do. I can promise you that. There's always something to do.
And then are these used raggedy clothes?
No, they're brand new. Everything is brand new. Got the tags on them. So those kids who've never seen brand new clothes can go in and they're getting, everything is new, brand new, nothing used.
And then are there people who volunteer who may be perceived as a little different than other people? And are they able to be involved and included?
Yes, and that's a great question too, because you know our friend Irv. Okay, Irv is challenged. He's handicapped, and he's in a wheelchair. And I called him last night. Irv, I see my wife laughing over there. I am the official greeter at PAC, and so if I can't be there, I will call Irv and say, "Hey, Irv, I'm running late. Man, can you handle it?" He'll say, "I got it. You take your time. I got it." And so he's just great to be there welcoming people. And we have a line that every now and then I'll throw out to folks. I'll say, "All right, folks, less yakking, more packing." And Irv has learned that, and he will probably be saying that before I get there today.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have people in all kind of situations who can help. Yes.
Be careful with that paper when you stick it over there, it sticks up in front of the.
Thank you. Gotcha. Yep. Just out of curiosity, in a given week, tell me the different places you and Ruth will be.
Probably like last Saturday, I'll just use that as an example. We were at,
You gotta pull that one down because you got on the wide shot, it's showing that just that. I'm sorry.
see about the fourth person who's in this chair? He'll have all that done. Oh yeah, I have this, that'd be a piece of cake.
You the guinea pig.
That's all right. Hey, Mickey, I've been called worse than that, believe me.
I'll bet the guinea pig.
Hey, man. Yeah. Okay.
In a given week, for example.
Yes.
Let's talk about the different kind of places that you and Ruth would be and why you'd be there.
I'll just use the past week as that's just a general example. We were in 3 different nursing homes. We went to take brownies and pray for someone who's shut in, recovering from surgery. We had another home visit with someone, and so that we do as hospitals. If someone's in hospice, in nursing homes, lots of that kind of thing. And we were talking beforehand, if you've been around Savannah your whole life, most of this is through our affiliation with Compassion Christian Church. Mm-hmm. But the past 5 years, we've had almost 1,000 hospital visits, real close, 900, upper 900s. And so a lot of those come through the church, but just through being in Savannah. We get calls saying, "Hey, Bob, I know you go to Candler Hospital some. If you're there, I've got a cousin in room 412. Could you swing by and see him?" We get a lot of those kind of phone calls just because people know that we do that, so they don't hesitate to call and see if we will go see someone and pray with them.
How has this changed who you are?
Completely, because I'm a sluggard. Basically, I'm selfish. What I would prefer to be doing is sitting around the house reading, listening to Louis Armstrong records or Duke Ellington, Lester Young and Billie Holiday. That's how and nothing wrong with relaxing every now and then. We all got to do that. But it changes me because it takes me so far out of my comfort zone to walk into somebody's hospital room that I don't know, and I don't really know what's going on with them. And to say, "Hey, Bill, I'm Bobby, and this is my wife, Ruth. We're from Compassion Christian Church. So what you doing here? So what's going on? How can we help you in any way?" Takes me way out of my comfort zone.
Has it changed your marriage?
Probably made it better because it's something we do together. In a lot of marriages, we know people, they do they might play golf together. Ruth and I, she's not a musician. I'm a musician. That involves a lot of my time. And so there's going different ways. This brings us together because we're walking into these rooms together. And, we pray before we go in there. And I always say, "Lord, give me something to say," because I'm kind of like in the Bible, it talks about the Apostle Peter. And it says, Peter, not knowing what to say, said, and that's me sometimes. But somebody's got to say something, so I'll say it. Sometimes it ain't the right thing to say. So, yeah, it's helped our marriage, definitely.
You mentioned music.
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask you about sort of your faith journey a little bit, but your musical journey as well. You started off playing rock and roll and...
Started off playing rock and roll. I was playing in topless clubs and I remember seeing you there. I think you were there at a place called the Hershey Bar on Congress Street. And Tom, I was at least, that was my job. I was being paid to be there. I'm not sure exactly what you were doing there. But so we kind of went from that and put. Oh boy.
Occupational hazard, Tom, sorry.
See, I'll go off script now. I mean, I won't do that every now and then. So,
Have one word in defense. Ministry.
yeah, right. Okay. So I played in bands. I played in a band called the Easy Walkers and a band called the Joja Band, and that took up, all those together took up almost 10 years, and have a blues duo with Michael Amberg, and we've been playing for over 40 years, and we just play periodically. And our church band has been together, some of the same guys, for over 30 years. So I do some jazzy stuff with Stephen Bryan, and just a lot of different music still. Even though I'm supposed to be retired pretty much, there was a time a couple of months ago when I did basically 3 completely different styles of music, like in a 10 or 11 day period. So I still stay real active with that, and it's a blessing. It can be a curse too. Mm-hmm.
In broad terms, this notion of guys that started on the musical journey early, and now that they're in their 50s, 60s, to 70s, is that a common? Is there more of that in Savannah? Or are you the guy? Or
No, there's plenty of that. Yeah, plenty of folks still working in music as much as they can. I believe it was Louis Armstrong said, "You don't retire from music. People just quit calling you." And so you run into some of that the older you get.
what congregations would I go to see the old rock and rollers that are now doing praise?
In the larger churches, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they want younger people. So what they call the seeker-friendly churches, they pretty much have young people because they're playing young music, and they are trying to attract the 30, 35, 40-year-olds. And so to find the older, what we play, we go to smaller churches. People closer to our age, they seem to appreciate that more. And that's just the way it is, right? I mean, that's just life. Yeah.
Can you remember at the time when the moment when your faith led you to your first personal action?
When my faith led me to my personal action, yes, there's a chapter in the New Testament, Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, and Jesus said, "I was hungry, and you fed me. I needed something to drink. You gave me something to drink. I was sick. You came to see me. I was in prison. You visited me. I needed clothes. You gave them to me." Things like that. And that just hit me like a sledgehammer, because I was going to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, but I was not serving like I should be. And reading that, because Jesus said, "I didn't come to be served. I came to serve." And I started really thinking, I need to get busy because I'm not serving like I should be. And so that was just a moment to me, and we pretty much got busy then and just have kind of kept our hand on the plow and hadn't looked back, just have stayed with it.
How old were you then?
I was mid-50s when we really started getting more serious. I didn't become a Christian till I was 34 or so, and we were doing a lot of the right thing. We were doing hospital visits and that kind of thing all along, but not in a smaller church. There's just less people to visit. And what we have now, like in large churches, they have teams that do different things. We have a hospital visitation team. In the smaller churches, you don't have that. So if you're elder, deacon, preacher, you go see the people. So we did that kind of thing, but so it just increased a whole lot as the years went by. Plus, as you get older, as you well know, there's a whole lot more. I mean, the conversation we have now it's not what we would have had 20 years ago. Because so many of our conversations now start, did you hear about? And it's usually not going somewhere you want it to go.
I'm going to move a little bit in a different direction,
Okay.
if I may.
Sure.
Just curious, are there particular memories, sort of these fond memories of times when you've been involved, faith in action? Are there a couple of things you look back and think that was maybe the sweetest moment or one of the sweetest moments?
There's a bunch, Tom, that I can think of, great memories. I'll tell you one very recent story because this has just happened in the past month. When we started with the homeless ministry, there was a gentleman named Rico, and we met him right off the bat, just right off the bat. And when you do things for people, you as you well know, because you've been serving for many years, you shouldn't be looking for anything in return, right? Like I do something for you because I scratch your back, you're going to scratch mine, right? It's to do it because it's the right thing to do. So we did some things for Rico, and I won't go into detail. We didn't think we did a whole lot for him at all. He died year and a half or so ago. He ended up in Riverview Nursing Home, and we had quite a few visits with him. We'd wheel him outside so he could smoke a cigarette, take him stuff, this kind of thing. And so one of the ladies who kind of heads up the homeless feeding, her name is Marjo, she had called and said, Bob, are you going to be coming my way anytime soon? This is maybe 6 weeks ago. I said, no. She said, well, I've got something for you, so whenever I see you, just remind me. I said, well, if it's money, I'll send Ruth to pick it up. And she said, she just didn't really reply. She just said, well, I'll see you soon. So next thing I know, get an envelope from her with a very nice note in it, and I open it up, and there's $700 in cash. It was from Rico because he left her $1,400, and I don't know how or where he got it, Social Security or whatever, but she halved it with us. She said, I know you'll know what to do with this money. And that was just such one of those things where I just look at him and I say, Lord, I wasn't expecting anything here. We just did it. He was in need, and we did it. So there's just a whole lot of things like that. You know our buddy Howard Jarrett very well. Howard broke his neck on a trampoline at Jenkins High School in 1966. We lived across the street from each other, and we have been great friends ever since. 19 years ago, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary, he was baptized. And when I say baptized, I mean what the Greek word means, baptizo, to dip, to immerse, in his swimming pool with my son Jeremy on one arm and my son-in-law Chris on the other arm. And so you talk about a highlight moment to see that, a guy you've known your whole life and loved and who's been through what he's been through, and to see him go through that. Yeah, so that's a highlight. There's a bunch of them.
And where'd you have lunch yesterday?
We had lunch with Howard, and you have been to these. We call it the Fourth Quarter Club, and there's 50, 60 members of this club, and there's anywhere from 25 to 35 people that come once a month. And we started doing this many years ago to have lunch with Howard, just to do something for him, because he's paralyzed. He's also a 2-time cancer survivor in the past 6 years or so. So he's just been, there's not a more inspirational person you can be around. As you well know, he wrote a book recently and had a book signing at Tubby's and sold over 150 copies that one night. So he's a local celebrity, but he's an inspiring guy. He's the kind of guy that you spend some time around. Speaking personally, I walk off from him many times going, once again, just looking up and saying, Lord, forgive me again, because I gripe. My wife's sitting here. If I got the wrong kind of ice cream in the freezer. And here's this guy who never complains about a thing. So what an inspiration. So that Fourth Quarter Club, I don't think I need to explain how that name came up. We're not quite at the 2-minute warning, we don't think, but We're in the fourth quarter, and when you hit about 65, 70 or so, you're in the fourth quarter. Yeah.
You're not talking football.
No, not at all.
Are there people in your congregation that you feel are people that we should do this with? That people that you feel are living faith in action in a powerful way? And are there other people in this community that you feel like are living their faith through action in a powerful way that you would like to suggest that we, as we go forward over the next 9 months, that we reach out to?
The problem here, Tom, is there's so many people that have influenced, and when you start naming names, that's just so tricky, because if someone sees this and say, well, because I know how people are, because I'm like that. You know, well, I did something. Why wasn't I mentioned? I would certainly say my daughter Melina, because she has done something, not just because she is my daughter, but to do what she has done with feeding thousands of children, clothing all these children. They have a space set up where if someone is left homeless in the middle of the night or a child is abused, there's a place they can go to and get, she's had people show up with a towel wrapped around them, that they can get help. So I would definitely say her, not just because she's my daughter. Many times people will say, you must be so proud of your daughter. And I say, which one? Because we have 4, and they all serve in their ways, and we have a son we love very much. So, but she has done something that I believe is really extraordinary. There's a guy named Jim Boland, great friend of ours. He and his wife Sandy started many of the service ministries at Compassion Christian Church, marriage counseling, hospital visitation, and on it goes. Lighthouse ministry, just a lot of stuff. And Jim is the guy who 10 years ago, when we were at Compassion Christian Church thinking, we're serving in this, and we're doing this and this on the side, but we need to be more involved. We really need to get on a hospital visitation program. And we met with Jim. I called in an audition. He says it wasn't that, but we went to see him to see if we were what he's looking for. And so we must have done pretty well, because he said, okay, well, if y'all can go to Candler on the weekends and pray with people and take communion, yeah, we can do that. And so then he says, well, while you're at it, if you would swing by Memorial too. And I said, sure. And so as Ruth and I are walking to the parking lot, I said, wait a minute, swing by? You don't swing by a hospital, right? I mean, you got to find a place to park. You got to what floor? There's a lot of stuff you got to go through to get there. So anyway, Jim has been a huge influence on us. Just a great guy, great guy. There's a young lady named Sarah Buck. Sarah has written a book also. Some of the medical struggles and things that she has gone through, and her family, and she took over the leadership of the hospital visitation at our church, and she's got a great testimony and a great witness as well. I would certainly say our pastor Cam Huxford and his wife Sarah, because they came to Savannah. Cam will be retiring in September of this year, and he has been. We met him when he came here 40 years ago, and it was a church of around 250 people at that time. It's over 10,000 now. And the thing I can say about Cam, what impresses me most about him, when we met him 40 years ago, if he came in here today, he's the same guy. And so I don't know if I'm out of line in saying this, but in ministry as in anything else, ego can really come into play. And most people, it could be a business someone starts or anything else, if it just grows that much, you couldn't help but think, man, I've really done something. But he just seems just like the same guy that we met 40 years ago. So I think that's quite a testimony.
I appreciate you talking about his 40 years here and that sort of long involvement.
Yes.
It makes me wonder, are there people, when you think back, maybe people who are no longer with us, that you look back and think, maybe I didn't even realize it when I was watching that person.
Oh, gosh,
but
yeah.
that person showed me faith in action.
Yes.
And they're no longer with us.
Yes.
Folks like that, because, our job here is to tell the long story of faith in action in Savannah. and
Yes.
that's historical
Yes.
as well as present. Does that bring to mind some people?
Sure does. There was a couple, Roy and Frances Chastain. And Roy was an Iwo Jima Purple Heart survivor. And we met them years ago. He's been gone quite a number of years now, and his wife as well. And they were just, if someone asked me to what was the perfect example, the epitome of just the perfect Christian couple, they'd be at the top of the list. And just humble, completely humble. And I remember one of the highlights of my life, I think, was singing and giving a eulogy at Roy Chastain's funeral. And I said, only in America could a draft dodger like me be speaking at a Iwo Jima Purple Heart survivors service. So what an honor that was. I think of a couple, Claude and Alice Hudson. Claude died a couple of years ago, and they used to take our children to church when I wanted nothing to do with church. In fact, people will find this hard to believe now, but my wife was threatened. I said, if you even mention the name of Jesus, you're going out the door. I was that anti-Christian. So they took our children to church, and they prayed for me and loved me and were just as nice and courteous to me when I wasn't nice and courteous back. So they made a big impression on me. Said, okay, that's the way to be.
So this idea of faith in action is a chain. It's one link in the chain, another link in the chain.
Absolutely.
Another link in the chain.
Yes. It wasn't overnight. Definitely not.
What do you see in the world right now that worries you?
Everything. Everything kind of worries me. My wife is just shaking her head over there. Shouldn't have asked him that one. I just see just a lot of stuff that makes me miserable, makes me uncomfortable. I joke with young people. You may remember there was a very popular movie in 1958 named Gigi. It won 9 Academy Awards, and the great Maurice Chevalier sang a song in there called I'm Glad I'm Not Young Anymore. And that's the way I kind of look at things, because I think this world is just a different place. There was things about the world I liked better in the past. If you could remove the racism from it and all that entailed, I think people were more courteous. I see things now that people do and say that have just entered our common language and all that just would not have been done when I was coming up, and it makes me just very uncomfortable for my children and particularly my grandchildren.
And then your sources of hope.
That we will turn back to God. The scripture says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then I will hear from heaven. And if they'll turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. I just think America needs a revival, needs to turn back to God. I think we've removed God from so much that we just need to return to Him.
And this is the last question I'm going to ask you, is will you get a harmonica out and play a gospel tune?
What I do with my... What, you want to hear something fast, or you want to hear something slow? Amazing Grace?
Amazing Grace would be amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. Let's see. I hadn't warmed up any. I mean. Okay. hit one little clam in there, but I think Mickey will edit that out.
Well, we're off to a roaring start here.
Okay, you done?
Thank you.
Okay.
Unless you guys want to do more, but I mean,
I had one quick,
Good.
interceding question,
I'm just
that,
like-
just going back to the, PAC, your daughter's program.
Yes.
If you don't mind, sort of, if you would, in your own words, explain why you think that has worked. You talked about a lot of churches being involved, a lot of people who aren't even affiliated with a church
Yes.
being involved. And don't talk to me, but talk to Tom and tell him why you think that is. Why do you think that there's this?
Has been such a big success with this.
Why it has grown and encompassed interdenominationally all
It's a
these
success
Savannahans.
because
Okay.
yeah, PAC is a successful cause. I believe PAC is a successful cause.
Okay, Tom, I believe that PAC is a successful cause just because it brings so many people from so many backgrounds together. Some who have church background, there are people of all faiths we've seen in there because they're doing a good thing. And if we sat around a table, we would have theological differences if we started discussing that. But as far as just people getting together and helping children, it's wonderful. And you see people who used to teach school together. We have a lot of retired school teachers, as a matter of fact. And just people, gosh, I haven't seen you in 38 years. And just reacquainting. We've seen great friendships develop from PAC, people who don't know each other. And then if they're week after week, they're going down the line, putting food in bags. They just become great friends. So it's a wonderful thing. It's just bringing people together of all kind of ages. There are younger people and older people, middle age. So it's wonderful for everybody who wants to be involved.
Would you be comfortable calling it a community?
In a way, it is. Yeah, I haven't thought of it like that, but that's very. Could it be a community? Yes, very much so, because there it is. This group of people who get together on at least a weekly basis, and like I say, there are people who do a lot more than once a week. God bless them.
And then, as you talked about it, the two words that come to my mind are common purpose.
Common purpose. Yes, Tom, there's very much a common purpose there, and that's helping children who desperately need it. There are thousands of children who go to bed hungry in this city every night, and a lot of them, they get food at school during the week, but a lot of what is packed today primarily will be for their weekend food.
And have you been to any funerals of the PAC volunteers?
Trying to think. Funerals of PAC volunteers. I'm sure I have. We go to so many, and we do. But I know, well, this is a good example of something that doesn't really, someone we met at PAC had a friend, her sister has a friend whose mom was dying. So I said, would you like us to go see her? So we ended up having, rough figure, 9, 10, 12 visits with the mom. She ended up passing away. We had some great visits with her. And she had lost a daughter. This lady was in her 40s, and she had lost a 20-year-old daughter a couple of years ago. Still has a teenage daughter, so who has no one. So we went to the funeral and met the daughter, this teenage daughter. And what a blessing that was to us to see this young lady. And when you look in her eyes to know she just lost mama and she just lost her sister a couple of years ago. And to be able to pray with her. And so we have been able to reach out in those areas as well, yes.
Well, I can't say thank you enough, and I mean that really sincerely.
Well, thank you. It's a blessing to me.
We've known each other a long time,
Yeah,
but I've never really known you the way I know you now, and I appreciate it very much.
I just hope you get that part across that it's all God doing this, that I just want to sit around and listen to records. I mean, really. It's the Holy Spirit leading me because, hey, she'll tell you. That's what I like to do. I'm learning. It was working this morning on "I'll Never Smile Again," Frank Sinatra and Tommy Dorsey. I was learning that. So
So you're saying you'd be a slug without God and Ruth?
yes, well, primarily without without God. She kind of spurs me on a little bit too.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. Well, I hope everything went okay there.
Yeah. And did we do okay technically?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Okay.
You got it.
We got you.
Well, thank y'all so
No,
much.
thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks for being here.
And
It's a
return
great
for this,
beginning to something that
absolutely.
is, you know, for
Kind of up
everybody.
in the air.
Well,